What an introduction, eh? We'll get to the fun part after this. You'll make one speaks. Why is he so still? Just want to acknowledge the big one Louis for his good words and his taking his time to come up and share with the team from the Land Advisory and Management Board. Very informative and good discussion to kind of wrap up the day. You know, we've got a long day here, so thank you, Simu, for coming here today and honoring us with your time here. We just wanted to thank everyone here for sticking it out. We've had a very long day of discussion, and we started early this morning with a good breakfast down there, and it's now after 7. But I just wanted to make a few comments. I'll keep it short because I know everybody wants to get home and watch Netflix. If the internet's working, right? You know, as we've heard, as I've sat and listened today, you know, starting down there with breakfast at the health center and listening to the discussion there at the health center, I just wanted to reflect a bit. You know, what I heard and what I have witnessed today is a testament here to our community and the fact that we're still moving forward together. We've done a lot of work in the last year, we've done a lot of work in the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You know, we're coming into a period of reconciliation with Canada and the government and colonizers around our place, and we're moving away from 200 years of oppression, of crippling oppression. You know, we talk about the Indian Act and how the Indian Act has affected us in our decisions, our daily lives. You know, it's a real testament to the strength and the resilience of our people that we are still able to gather and talk the way that we do about all of the things that you heard today from our staff and our partners and others that are here. I'm reminded of this song that we all hear quite regularly. We might not know the genesis of this song. Oh, hey, oh. That song came out, and I encourage you all to take some time to explore the meaning of that song. I was told a story by one of our elders in the Seal Nation, Jeanette Armstrong, who we all here talk to and have had opportunity to listen to over the years. And she told me the story of the genesis of how that song came to us as Seal people when we came out of this period of oppression about 50 plus years ago. politics. And in this time, we were coming out of oppression. We were in the United States of America. There was a movement that started called the American Indian Movement. And a lot of our people, a lot of Seal people, they were attracted to that movement and they went south to support our relatives down there in their fight for human rights, civil rights, Indian rights in the United States. And as they were doing this work, one of those people was Jeanette. And there were others, there were many that went from all over British Columbia to enter into this fight for rights. And as they were doing that work, they were reconnecting to our culture and our land, and they came home and they talked to elders and knowledge keepers about our songs, because when they were traveling, they were exposed to and experiencing all of the southern tribes, reemergence of their songs and their languages. So they crafted this song. This is what came to them, was this song, which reminded them, and it reminds me today, that we are still here. We heard it here at some point during the day, Kuti Kuhala. We are still here. Oh, I lost it. I had another set of words. Lut kud tischois. We never left. That's my language. I'm learning. But that song reminded us of our roots. And it reminded us that we're tied to this land. We're tied here by our roots. We're tied here through our Kustem Tima, our Klevet Lahab, our elders, our ancestors. We never left here, and we're still here doing the work. You know, there's so much work going on a daily basis, and I was thinking about it, right? We heard a little bit about it. One of the ones that popped out to me is in this discussion around how we can translate or transition in this period, just like Sinclair. In our Chapteeth, we know that Sinclair made this land ready for us. Sinclair was the one that was gifted the powers by Quilchena to come here to make this land ready for us. As we carry on this work, we're continuing to learn our language. You know, it's beautiful to hear our young people here teaching us our language, teaching us about our connection. Our laws, we heard talk about our laws. Our Chapteeth, we're surrounded here in the room by our 4 food chiefs, which we all acknowledge, and we've been working in our governance structures to pay respect to that. Our way of life, Scaled Chout, our Scaled Sealed Chout, our way of life. How do we do our work? How do we do our business? The reason we do this is because it's in our blood. Yil ibas piet, our blood. My late aunt, Amy, in 1995, when we were having our blockade, a lot of you'll remember, especially Scotty Holmes, we this blockade in 1995. We're down there by the bridge, and my late Aunt Amy, she shared that teaching with us. She said that river that's flowing under that bridge, it's the same as the blood that's flowing in our veins, in our bodies. The water and our blood are the same, which is a reminder again of this important work that we're doing as a community in this time. You know, we started out the day listening about health. We have we all know it, we all see it, we hear about it on a regular basis, access to quality health care. We know that the hospital in Merritt closes on a regular basis. If you have a broken leg or whatever, you go to Merritt, there's no hospital there. Mental health issues, access to treatment for addictions of whatever nature requires access to health care, to mental health, to treatment facilities. And this work that we've undertaken for over 10 years around in the healthcare system, we remain here, the only community in British Columbia who did not agree legally with the transfer of authority for health care from the Government of Canada to the First Nations Health Authority. And we continue to do work in that area. These toxic drugs, you know, it's an ongoing discussion that we're working towards resolution, finding solutions. How do we change this? How do we respond? What can we do in the system? We heard some talk this morning about the environment, this toxic algae, which is related to climate change. We all experience and look on the news, there's flooding. You know, we experienced it here, 2017 flooding. 2021, the atmospheric river event. You know, there's fires. It's ongoing. We're looking to find solutions. Children and family, a very important issue right now across the country. And again, we're leading the way for First Nations across the country with the work that you've done to undertake the declaration, which is still leaning against the wall back there, as was talked about today. Our Quilchena and the work that they're doing is leading the way for First Nations across the country as we talk about improving the outcomes for children who are affected or children who have come into care who need help. The CHRP 41 settlement and the changes that are coming are going to have a direct impact on each one of us here and all of our children. We heard our elder Opal talk about even our unborn children now, that we have to work to protect them. We heard from our housing and infrastructure, another very important file that's ongoing. There's a lot of work going on. As the chief, I sit on the National Committee for Housing and Infrastructure for the AFN. So I have the opportunity to work with and listen to and learn from First Nations across the country. And again, the work that we're doing here continues to provide some example of how we can do things and how we can do things better. You know, we're dealing with real critical issues. We built last year, or this last couple of months, we did the ground or the ribbon cutting for our BC housing project down the road here. It's not a perfect solution. We know that because we can already see from the first couple months of operations, those units aren't full. There's still vacancies down there, so I encourage everyone here who has issues around housing to continue to bring that forward, and let's find ways to use those units down there to address some of those housing issues. There's work underway right now around what's called the Safe Water Act, which is a national piece of legislation that is designed which comes as a result of another court case on the boil water advisories, which we've all had experience with and knowledge about over the last year when they did these compensation payments that the band supported and worked on. Homelessness, one of the areas that I've been working on with the Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure is addressing the homelessness issue that is devastating a lot of our community members. We have community members who are homeless, who are living on the streets in municipalities across the country, including Merritt. This is a real issue for us. Many of our people are homeless. Last spring, the National Homelessness Advocate released a report calling on the Government of Canada to address this chronic homelessness problem, to bring a solution by August. Well, we're now getting towards the end of August and no solution has been provided. Education. We heard a report from our education department. We look at our school over here, and we heard a bit about the loss and the damages that were done to our school, and we're thankful to be standing here in our gymnasium, which was the result of the work that had started back in the 1970s. NBIT, we have a post-secondary institution that we've been part of for 40 plus years, working towards trying to establish post-secondary credentials for our community members. We continue to do that work. Great presentation on lands management. We heard here today the work that we're doing on lands management. Douglas Lake Common, Scotty provided an updated report on the Douglas Lake Common, which is a specific claim to settle 18,000 acres. So we need to pay attention when we hear talk about additions to reserve. We may be looking to add 18,000 acres here in the next 6 months. Scotty has his way. Stewardship, again, we heard the reports on stewardship and the work that's going on there. There's a lot of important work that we're doing to address our title and rights. A couple of big things that pop into my mind when we talk about stewardship is the relationship we have with the Crown, and talking about things like the Columbia River Treaty, which some of you may have seen on the news. Well, we've been doing a lot of work at the Chiefs Executive Council to address how are we going to share and bring the benefits of that Columbia River Treaty to you, the rights holders. We've been working with other tribes, the Interior Alliance, other communities, talking to government about changing the way that they deal with comprehensive claims. Talking about our finance admin law, the work that we're doing to implement it, to continue to grow that, the taxation, economic development. And I just wanted to take a moment here to acknowledge Ron Zielstra, who's now our acting CEO for the Development Corporation. And Ron was kind of modest when he introduced himself. Ron actually has a lot of experience in clean energy and energy development. And that's one of the reasons why we pursued him to come to work. He had actually been retired. He retired after a lengthy career in this field, and he was set on fishing. And I said, hey Ron, why don't you consider coming to work over here, and we'll continue to talk about the things that we were talking about for many years. So I want to thank Ron for coming out today to share some of his thoughts about the work that we're doing. And in economic development, listening to Chief Louis talk about, the experience at West Bank First Nation, and we all know we can tell when we look out our doors that we're not West Bank First Nation. The closest real municipality we have is the city of Merritt, which, as we all know, is declining because the forest sector that has been the breadbasket for this economy in this valley for decades and generations is starting not to produce the revenues that it once did or the jobs. So those things are moving away. What we have that West Bank doesn't have is we have the largest substation in British Columbia, smack dab between us and Quilchena, which many of us drive by on a daily basis. And the entire electrical grid of British Columbia and the northwest of the United States and Alberta and all the way down to Florida would have some real consequences if that thing actually stopped running. So in terms of clean energy sector, this is why we're doing the work. This is why we chose to pursue economic opportunities related to the clean energy sector. Ron talked a little bit about wind, there's solar, there's all kinds of other things. We've talked about direct air capture of carbon, we're talking about hydrogen production, because that's what our location brings for us. And then of course this talk about governance and this transition out of the Indian Act. How do we stand up our laws and how do we put the power into this community to do the things that we want? How do we recognize our core food chiefs and implement a governance structure that works for us, that will work for our children and our grandchildren? So this is what I heard all day today in the discussion, the side chats, and I hope that you all leave here today with at least one piece of knowledge. Even if it's hearing Chief Louis' history, and I don't mean that in an even way, I mean that we're all going to learn something, and that's why we're here, to share, to learn, to have food together, to laugh together. So with that, I want to thank you all for taking your time to stay here in this long day. And I'm going to sing you one last song. This song was shared to me. My late friend Marky Andrews from down in the south. He did a lot of, he helped my family when my mother was sick. He'd go to the hospital and he'd visit my mother. And he shared this song with us. He said we could use this song to lift the people up. Lift people up with this song, he said, when people need a little boost of energy. So I bring this song up when we're all tired after a long day and we want to go home and we want to play some games. Brian wants to get to his Netflix. strong to hear you. Okay, Scotty has reminded me we have a couple of small gifts of appreciation for our guests who traveled here